When did I get a message?
You have one new message.
Hey, JP, you fucking freak, we're partying. Where are you at? I'll chirp you later. Here's Sam.
Hey, JP, we celebrated the game tonight. Jeff, stop it.
Give me the phone. My name is JP. I'm a robot. I like robots. I have a robot vagina. I am not amused.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast, doing another episode of When I Raid Alone. Today, doing a live event, mainly just off the cuff, really. Want to talk a little more about Diablo 4. I know a lot of people are not really playing it, or at least some are, and some come back, but I'm still playing it. I'm enjoying Season 2 a lot, but I do have some things that I think that still need to be worked on that I want to talk about. I also want to talk about some of the streamers that I enjoy watching that talk about gaming and stuff. You know, they're still basically crying about pay to win. Now, I have my issues with pay to win, obviously, as everyone does, but I think when I start getting into it, we're going to discuss whether or not it's worthy enough for streamers to complain about, like on the level that they are, like, and especially when they're being contradictory to like other games that they do enjoy and play and talk about. So we'll get into that a little bit later. And then, of course, at about an hour from now, if my timing is correct, Blizzard will be doing another campfire chat for Diablo 4, talking about some itemization changes and probably some stuff going forward with Season 3 coming up. And, of course, the midwinter stuff that's coming up for Season 2 yet in December. I believe that starts December 12th. So I'm sure they're going to touch on a lot of that. I'm going to actually pull it up live and we'll watch it and discuss it for anybody that comes in and want to talk. If you got questions or even comments or even disagree or agree with me about things, that's fine. Just keep it civil, you know, like it's fine to have good disagreements about stuff. But first I want to talk about Diablo 4, how I'm enjoying the game so far. Now, granted, it was a rough start. I was there from the beginning. I was in the betas. I tried Season 1. I got to level 50 and stopped with my Necro and that. Didn't really enjoy it, but there's a lot of other things that contributed to that, including the the grind with the experience and stuff. And season 2 has been far superior to that in terms of gaining experience, leveling your characters. But right now, like I'm doing pretty well. In fact, I'm gonna throw up a little video here. Basically, this is from Lazy Peon. I took out the audio. It's just basically you're gonna see some of the background of the gameplay and why I'm talking. But I've been enjoying it a lot. It's a great game. It's fun. Uh, some people disagree, and that's fine. But I'm having a good time with it. This is an easy game to follow for a casual player like myself. I have all 5 characters now. I do have some characters that I had on the Eternal Run before, but I've deleted a couple because I gotta make room. And so I've tried each character here in season 2. So obviously my favorites right now in terms of playability and style of play that I play with is Sorcerer and Rogue. Uh, both of them are maxed out at 100 right now. I have not done a lot of the in-game stuff. I have done some of the bosses, but nothing beyond that. And I'm going to get into why some of that's a problem for me right now. But the vibe on that I have right now with all the characters is good. Necromancer, I think I'm around 79 or 80 with that character. No, excuse me, I'm about 87 with that character. Druid, I think I just hit 79. And Barbarian, I'm still around 50 through 52 or 53. So I haven't quite gotten them up leveled yet. But been playing around with builds too. Like I started out doing certain builds. Right now I'm using Icy Veins. I found builds for each one that I really like that both give me balance with power as well as armor and life. Of course, the funny thing about when I watch some of these streamers and they're just saying, "Oh, I could do 1 billion attack power or whatever." It's because you have everything, dude. You've done everything in the game. You've got all the uber uniques. Of course, you're gonna do that. You can go in and one shot anything at that point. So I get disappointed with these streamers because all they do is they blow through the first few levels to 50 or 70, and then they decide, oh yeah, now I'm going to start telling you how to make your in-game build. Well, you kind of need to build up to that because for me and my concerns are like just when I'm building is how are you getting the attack power that you want to go in and solo some of these bosses? So I took my recent Sork, which I regained respect through Icy Veins, and I did go in and beat Varshan. It was still a bit of a bitch though. Like I didn't one shot it or anything, but I still was able to do it. But then I went in with my Rogue and was unable to do it, and my Necro. I don't think I was able to. And then I took my Rogue. Maybe it wasn't with my Rogue. Might be with my Necro. I was trying to take into Grigori and could not do it. Like I just couldn't do it by myself. And look, I get it. It's tough and it's supposed to be challenging, but this is sort of the thing that I have a problem with. Now, you can go in and you can basically go into trade chat and group up with people to go do these. And that's not a problem. I've done that. I've done that a couple times. But here's where I would like to see some changes with that aspect. Like in terms of grouping with people, clans, whatever. Like, look, I'm a casual player. I went back and created my own clan because I was in another clan and they kicked me out for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know what the issue was. You only allow like 149 or 50 people in each clan, but if you're just going to be subjected to being booted on a whim, then fuck them. Like I'll just create my own, and if it's just me, it's just me. But it's kind of sad that you're trying to join in with other people and they're just not willing to like keep you in the guild or whatever. So fuck them. I don't care. But here's where the problem lies. Is like I don't want to have to go into trade chat, local whispers, whatever, to try to team up with people to go do these things. It can be done, but this is what I'd like to see Blizzard do. It utilized something they use in World of Warcraft, and it's called a queue. and set it up to where everyone who enters this queue has to have the mats. Like, I don't know how you're going to do it. I'm not a game developer or anything, but make it so either that or just make it level by level. Like, you have to have a level. I don't know. But have the mats, go in there and do the dungeons. And you can just queue up with anybody on any platform, whatever, and just go in and do them. It's quicker for one. You can just queue up, go, and go do them. And that would help out a lot in terms of like time limits, because again, as a casual gamer myself, I can't afford to just, sit there and like, basically spend hours upon hours on this game. Like, I just can't do it. So what I would like to see is maybe, just in a way, get this queue up so that I can go in and fucking queue up with other people that are trying to get these dungeons done, these bosses done. And I think that would be a good plan in the long haul for how this game operates in terms of doing in-game content. Because right now it's kind of a drag. It takes a while. I mean, you're only reliant of people. Look, I've had people help me. I went to take my druid into tier 4. Couldn't get Elias killed, so someone came and gave me a hand, which was very cool of them, and I appreciated that. So doing stuff like capstone dungeons and getting people to join you to get you to the next level is not really a big issue. Like, that to me is pretty quick. You just say, "Hey, give me a hand, somebody, please," and then they usually do. But when you're trying to do constant dungeon runs and also like boss kills to get these mats to go fight Dariel and stuff, like, because you have to get into Gregor and do a number of those to get the items you need for Dariel. And sure, again, I can go into trade chat and try to say, "Hey, I've got mats for like 4 or 5 runs." And a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I've got 3 runs. You need to have 3 runs, and you need to have 3 runs." Well, let's kind of do away with that, and let's just get people that can queue up and whatever mats you have. Whoever wants to start the dungeon can. If someone's not doing it, like if you find that someone else is not contributing, then just kick them out or whatever. I don't know. I think you can figure it out a way to make sure they have the materials necessary to get into these boss fights, right? I think Blizzard are smart enough to be able to do that, in my opinion. But also, like, I want to talk a little bit about the Vampiric Pack. So, saw a video the other day, basically saying, telling you which ones you need for each character and which ones are best worked for in-game stuff. And really, the Vampiric Packs are very cool, man. Just very, very cool things. I'm going to show you a little bit about it here. And I know you probably can't see unless you blow up the video, but so you get these packs down here, and you level them up. Each one can level up to 3, and then you put them in these slots here, and certain ones do certain things. So one thing that we really like is Homonacy, which really pretty much attacks everything in crowd control. So that's a nice little thing to have. However, I was learning through my latest build with Barbarian or Druid, I can't remember which, but they were saying the Homonacy is kind of wasted on that. So you go with like something like Domination or whatever, depending on the build that you have. Obviously, as you can see here at the top, you can see here's Ferocity, Divinity, and I forget what the skull is called, but basically you need to have 2. So I have this person has 7 of these on their armor. It can only go on the armor here on the left. Can't add it to anything else. Divinity takes 2. He's got 2 of 2, 5 of 5 Ferocity. So in order to have all these work, now in this case he has 3 working, so I don't know if he's or she is just working off of 3 only. I don't know. But usually 5 is much more beneficial for you. But for me, like the vampiric packs. Now the other thing that comes up is a guy mentioned. I think his name's Moxley. I think that's the streamer's name. Mentioned in his latest video that the vampiric packs need to be in a certain order. Now, this is the first I've heard of it, and I've asked around at different streamers like DM or Sladra and some other people like about whether or not this is a true fact. Like you could have them in a certain order in order for them to work properly, and no one can really confirm it. So I don't know if Moxley is like 100% accurate on that particular claim. In some sense, it would make sense to have that work that way, but then like you'd really be guessing about which ones are doing what and when. So far, when I have whatever packs in there, they seem to do the job. Although I've noticed, because there's another one that is like, I think it's the familiar, which shoots out from you. It's like a bunch of race or something that shoots out from you, and I'm not sure which vampiric power that is attached to, but my druid doesn't have it, and I kind of want to go back and put it in there just because even though these builds tell you like a certain way to build your character and to get the most utilization out of it, sometimes I just find myself tweaking it away because there's certain things about the way that they build things that I'm just not big on. So like there's for a long time, teleport wasn't something I used with a sorcerer. Now I've kind of learned how to utilize it better within my gameplay. So, and the builds that I've actually got going on now actually give me a lot more attack power for each character, whereas in some instances I was really struggling to get that. Now that brings me to another thing with the aspects. Now, for those that aren't familiar, aspects are basically imprints that you put on gear, weapons, jewelry. You can extract them from gear that you're not using and disposing of if they have a nice enough impact, because each aspect has a different thing it can do for you, and a lot of times you usually get them through doing dungeons. You unlock them. So the one problem I'm running into, and I don't know if any other streamers or gamers are running into the same problem. Maybe there's just something I don't understand about this. But there are times when I go to put an aspect on. This can be an aspect that I've unlocked from a dungeon or whatever, right? If I go to put this aspect on a piece of gear, sometimes it will take let's say I have 11,000 attack power. And all of a sudden I attach a piece of aspect that I think is going to be beneficial to my character. Well, then all of a sudden, and it's not one I've extracted, it's just coming from the straight source. And I add it, and all of a sudden my attack power goes down to 8,000. So if any gamers or streamers who are more familiar with the the mathematic portion of how this shit works, can you advise me if that's doing me more harm or good? Because in my opinion, and I know it's probably not a popular one, I know they've said that attack power isn't always necessary. For me, when I play and from what I observed with this game, attack power means everything. If you want to lay waste to shit, you need to be doing massive damage. Sure, you got to have good armor and you got to have good life expectancy out of it, but damage is everything. And I'm just finding that when I go to use certain aspects, it's almost like I have to hold my breath and hope that it doesn't knock my attack power down. So now I'm almost hesitant to even use any aspects unless I find gear that already has something that's beneficial to that particular character. Let's talk about obuls. Okay. Now, obuls are these things that you pick up randomly through chests and various quests and whatnot. Like whether it's blood harvest or it's usually chest that it pops out of, and a maximum you can get like 960. And on the left here, I'm not going to go. I have to learn how to do this. So on the left here, you see all these. You can spend them to do like a focus, and now it's randomized. So if I have 960 obols, start clicking on that, and it'll give me like a blue, yellow, and then sometimes legendary. But the thing is here now is that once you get to a certain level, like basically after you've hit 70, these become very useless. The only thing I really use them for anymore is my there's at the bottom here. If you I can't scroll here, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's keys for random chests out in the open. And those that's the only thing I really use them for now in the game. So I don't know what Blizzard plans to do with these because I don't really use them much as I'm leveling because it's really just you're really in just search for legendary items anyway. And I don't think they really start dropping until like after 20 or 25. So what are they going to do with these things? Like you can gather them and gather and gather them. You can only do so many keys. Like I have plenty of fucking keys between all 5 characters. So there's just not enough chests to unlock them. And besides, you spend most of your time doing blood harvest right now as well as hell tides. So I will say this about hell tides. I had a big grief about it. I still do have a grievance in terms of when you die, you lose half your cinders, which is bullshit. Blood harvest, you can die as many times as you want. You won't lose any of those blood things, the blood lures. But hell tides don't work the same way. And I also still feel that hell tides needs to work like blood harvest. It needs to go from zone to zone. So instead of waiting like an hour and a half to get back into hell tides, because here again, we're farming certain things from hell tides, which is living steel, in order to fight Grigor or Grigori. And sure, they've done a little bit better with the drops in hell tides, but at the same time, it's all about time management. And at this point, it's important that hell tides is up as much as possible so that we can do that. Because that's the only place you can get the living steel is through hell tides. And of course, you only have an hour to accomplish all this because there's only usually like, well, every chest will have some, but there's 2 that's the living steel. It takes 300 cinders to get like a nice healthy dose of these living steel. But with only an hour to achieve this, I can get at least 2 done, depending on the character. And usually, it's a high level character that can blast shit away pretty easily. So that's good, but you still take the risk of dying in the hell tides, which then you lose your cinders. And so I think they need to adjust that to the point that you don't have to lose cinders. Plus, keep it 24/7 like blood harvest. Just move it from location to location. I think that's something that has to happen for time constraints for the rest of us now. World bosses, that's fine. Like they cut it down from like 6 hours to 3.5, I think, or something like that. So that's fine. That's not a big deal. They're generally not dropping much anyway. So like in season 2 and even in Eternal Realm, like after season 2 is over, even though the Vampiric Powers supposedly will go away, you're still going to be able to go after these in-game bosses. So again, time management is a thing that you need to have because they're probably going to jump right into season 3. So back to the Obuls. This is just a wasted commodity in the game. I don't know what else they can do with this. Hopefully down the road they can find a way to do something with it, but I don't know. Like it's just a matter of time, I guess, to see what they can come up with. Yeah, I'm still seeing if the Diablo, the Blizzard live stream is still going. I thought they'd be already count down. I have to go look it up real soon. But okay, so we talked about dungeon, boss, cap dungeons, a queue system, which is important, aspects, obols, vampiric packs. Again, I don't know if there's a specific order for them, but I wish somebody could figure that out. I don't think there is, but just in case, it'd be kind of nice to know. uh, so there's supposedly also, with season 3 coming around the corner, there's supposed to be like a new class added to it. I don't know what it's going to be. Could be the witch doctor. I'm not sure. Could be another class in time age. What was one thing we were talking about? A paladin or something, like, they might add that. I don't know. So I'm not sure what they're adding there. It's either with season 3 and an expansion that's coming. So, a lot of people are bitching about that. I mean, look, Blizzard for eons has been charging for expansions even after you bought the base game. It's just how it goes. You're going to pay for that. And when we get into like the streamer stuff where they're kind of crying about a lot of this, I'll talk a little more about it, but it's just par for the course, man. They're there to make money, and as long as people are willing to pay it, that's what's going to happen. Now they did mention also, and this is what I wasn't sure about the Vampiric Powers, is last time they had a Campfire chat, Blizzard, the devs, said they may have some of these Vampiric Powers go bleed over into the Eternal Realm. I don't know how true that is, what it means. So like I end up just leveling all my Vampiric Powers just in case. Which was nice that when you do your first character, this is something to know, you gather all those blood vials and stuff that donates to your blood packs. And so if you gather a lot of like blood harvest, I would spend a lot of time in there doing that because that's where a lot of these blood vials drop. And I have like over 60K of those. So I've had no problems like, adding blood packs and vampiric powers to my other characters once I start playing them. So your first character, you want to spend a lot of time in blood harvest just because one, there's like a bonus you get. It's almost like the battle pass in a way, but you're not paying for that particular one. You're just, as you're going along in the blood harvest and achieving things, it's going to reward you with items and gear and stuff. And so that's just the best place really to level, at least to 50. And then, I mean, I still kind of do it after even now, just because when you get to the blood harvest stuff, it's like it's the main event. Once you get like 150 of these blood lures. And so when you get to the main event, it's just bombarded with like different aggros, different demons and stuff. And then of course there's like elites that come, and if you beat them, they drop a lot of nice legendary and sometimes unique gear that you can get. So that's always a positive. So that's it on the terms of like where we are with season 2. I really enjoy it. I do think there's still just some things they need to work on for the solo, because like I said, I have my own clan. I tried being in another clan trying to expand, but like I work a day job, and I have a life. I have my own YouTube channel, which you all are seeing right now, but it's not just based on gaming. I do entertainment, music, just all sorts of different stuff. And I regularly appear with other streamers for entertainment stuff. So schedule wise, like I just don't have all the time in the world. Like I do put enough time in the game that I can, but for someone like me, I kind of need to have a system in place with Blizzard and Diablo 4 where I can maximize my time. And if they change the way that the dungeons work and the queue system and stuff, I think that will alleviate some of that. The held tides, if they change that, would alleviate some of that shit, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the streamers. Now, pay to win. It's been a hot topic for a while when it comes to Blizzard specifically, but games in general. Like, you go in, you buy a game. I paid $90 for Diablo 4 when it pre-released. And there's things in the game, microtransactions for, cosmetics, um, just random shit in the game. Like they get these coins too. Like if you get the battle pass, you get these silver coins that drop, and then you can use those towards these cosmetic items that they're throwing up almost daily. But that comes with the territory with Blizzard. It just does. So the thing that I don't really understand a lot right now with some of these streamers is the constant whining about it, right? So there's so many games, and you hear them talk about all the time that this game's better than this game, and so on and so on. Path of Exile came up a few months ago as a comparison to Diablo 4 because it's free. Now, Path of Exile is also 10 years old, and they're working on a second one that's coming out soon. But it's free. But is it free? So I'm not going to really badmouth Path of Exile. I did try it out a little bit. I thought it was okay. I got yelled at by another commenter on someone else's YouTube page when I said that I thought Path of Exile was kind of boring. It's a bit too overly complicated. Now, he did have a great point at the end of his disagreeing with me about how he felt that Path of Exile is like a mathematical game for those type of gamers, whereas Diablo 4 is just for, if I have to say, the simple-minded. So if I'm considered simple-minded because I like my game straightforward, I don't have to think too much. I can just get off of work, plug in, and just kind of mind-numbingly play a game and have fun doing it to unwind or whatever. That's what I want to do. I've talked about Path of Exile, how their Paragon board that they have, one of the things that people talked up was how you can take a character, say like a witch, and if you want to make her wield swords, you can. You can take different paths with that character and make them become something different. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but it defeats the purpose of her being a witch. Like, I don't want to put a barbarian in a skirt and call it a mage. Like, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense with that type of character. So, despite the versatility of the board and what you can do with these characters, I don't think that's so much of an advantage. Now, do I think when it comes to the Paragon board with Diablo 4, they can expand that a little bit? Sure, you can do different things. And maybe down the road they will. Like, they're only in their first year with Diablo 4. And so we don't know exactly how far they're going to go with Diablo 4. They're talking like 10 or 15 years. Is that going to happen? I don't know. But I do want to talk about some of these streamers that, are constantly kind of crying about these microtransactions and, what Blizzard wants to do with the expansion in season 3 and stuff. I think we're going to basically watch Asmon reacting to Bellior news. Both intelligent people. I respect them both highly, but it doesn't mean I don't disagree with them on certain things. And so we're just going to kind of check it out, watch the video a little bit, and see what they're talking about in this terms.
Real talk
that was my
for a
breakdown.
second. Diablo 4 Season 2.
This was
from
such a great
all the
scene,
people
too.
that I've talked
This was
to,
awesome.
And when I was
I
at
love
BlizzCon
this.
in the press room, I was spending time with some D4 people, including D4 people who have been, in Season 1 especially, fairly critical of the game. I was talking to them, and they were saying from their perspective, running their communities, their channels, their, websites, that they genuinely are saying, oh my god, basically the thing the D4 creators and publishers say to each other is, oh my god, why did it not launch like Season 2? So
I think that a lot of the problems with Diablo, the longevity of the game, is the fact that the skills aren't transformative enough. In PoE, think about all the different ways you can play Blade Vortex.
And see, this is what I was talking about. Path of Exile definitely has more versatility with their Paragon board, but and Asmon is kind of keeping it simple here because he's talking about like a certain spec that a character would have, like Vortex. Sure, it can have many different variations to it. Diablo 4 could use something like that, and that's fine for a certain spec. So, like, I like to play the Frost Sorceress, and I'd really love to honestly do nothing but Frost and Ice. And I've done that build a couple times, and I have fun with it. But the problem is, it has weaknesses, and the problem that I have with Diablo 4 is, in that regard, is that, in my opinion, any build that you make, you should be able to win the game with. Any build. You shouldn't have to be reliant or pigeonholed into one particular build to win that game. So right now, like, the Fire Shield is awesome because it does grant speed. It gives you a little bit of health bonus when it's activated, but it's still fire. And I rather just kind of utilize that spot because I have ice armor too. And ice armor does a little bit of similar things, but doesn't grant you the speed. So why can't I have just ice armor, maybe last a little longer, and then add a different like the what's the snowball or the ice ball that shoots out? Because that was sort of part of my some of my builds too. Right now, that particular spell isn't, because I had to make room for the other stuff. Frostbolt. They have me using Firebolt, which is also one of my enchantments, because apparently that helps with the build itself in terms of the power it's generating. I noticed the attack power, so my build is done to what they've said. I've only tweaked it here and there. So it gives me the stats that I want, but I'm like saying to myself, why is it only relying on this? Why can't I have other things? Or why can't I just go with an all Frost build and still win this fucking game? Still beat or one-shot a boss. And even if I'm not one-shot, because I don't have like my Necro has like almost all uniques except for the focus. My Frost Sorceress doesn't even have, I have a lot of like uniques on her, but I don't have a focus, and I don't think I have a helmet or anything yet, which is stuff that I want to get. But apparently a lot of the 925 or 900 uniques drop a Duriel, which is, again, need a queue system. And then you need a queue system to get into Grigori, because I have like a lot of living steel that I've built up that I want to go and use, but it takes too long to have to try to party up with people to go do that, through chat and trade chat. So I'd rather have a queue system where I can just boom, get in there, get those things, get the Shard of Agony or whatever the fuck it is, get out, then go queue up for Dario and do those runs. Speed, buddy. Blizzard, speed. Devs, speed. Need to work on getting us into these games faster. Get the dungeons faster, the bosses faster. Queue up. None of this tic-tacking around, okay? I need speed. All right, back to this.
Think about all the different ways you can use Righteous Fire. Think about all the different ways that you can use golems, for example. And like, you have all these other ways to play the game, and like Blizzard and like Diablo, it's extremely like uniform. And I think the uniformity works really well for like casual players, but for somebody who wants to take like a bigger bite out of the game, they just can't do that.
That does.
Okay, but that's the thing though. And this is something Asmon has said in the past, is that Diablo 4 is made for the casual gamer. And that's true. And so, just like I don't begrudge anybody who plays Path of Exile and likes it more for the challenging aspect and the mathematical equations of, oh, I can do all this, the world is mine. It's fine. For me, Diablo 4 gives me what I want in terms of compactability. I get in, find spells I want, and then I go. It needs adjusting, it needs work, but it doesn't need to be overly complicated. So when I go in there, I'm not like overthinking everything. Like, oh my God, look at all this shit, dude. What am I going to do? What can I do? I don't have 50 years to play this game, dude. Like, I'm 53, dude. I don't need to be spending the next 30 years trying to figure out Path of Exile. Don't want to do that. And it's not even, and graphically, it's not even as impressive as Diablo 4. It's just not.
Say everything, and even now we're seeing Blizzard rolling out XP weekends and stuff like that are throwing in more generosity into a season that itself is fairly generously paced. It is actually brisk. But to go to this then,
Season 2 was great.
Right, surveys are a vital part.
I'm a big Season 2 enjoyer for Diablo 4. I think that if you're a casual Andy, you're a dad, Season 2 will be a great time for you. It's a great one-week game.
When you're doing games at this scale, because you got to make big decisions, and you got to make those decisions fairly accurately. And in a way, these surveys are a double-edged thing. Recently, I was in Universal Studios, and that led to us now getting some surveys. But the kind of neat thing is, we do get a little bit of a glimpse into what Universal are doing in the future, even though it all does say confidential, do not share.
Okay,
now,
so
as for this, which yes, confidential, do not share, but it was not sent to me by Blizzard. It was sent to me by a small little bird that flew in my window one day and said hello. Good luck, Blizzard legal department. You'll have to sue the bird, not me. So let's take a look then. Basically, this is the cost of an expansion, right? Between $69.99, $49.99, $79.99, and a delicious $99.99. This is, of course, them trying to work out.
You tell me the cheapest fucking option gonna be $50 fucking dollars? Where's the $59.99? We just go from $49 to $69? Where's the 50 fucking 9?
How do people actually value things, right? They basically get to do, well, I would say A-B testing, but here it's sort of, well, A-B through D testing. Now, hero skins, right? A cosmetic armor that doesn't include stats, with one for every class. And so that's one of the things they're testing. The other one is a mount. A new mount type other than a horse could come with additional features such as gaining
I kind of like that idea, though, with the mount. One thing I do enjoy about World of Warcraft is the various mounts they have. I don't expect Diablo 4 to ever have like flying mounts. It's kind of pointless in that particular game, but certainly if you give me like a fucking tiger or a bear or a giant lizard or something, that'd be kind of cool. I have no idea what they have in store. Personally, a cat guy here, so I'd rather have like a large cat of some sort. That would be my wish.
cosmetic upgrades for completing in-game achievements.
Cool. Great. I like the sound of that. In-game achievements. Cosmetic upgrades for completing them. That's cool. I like that. Well, that probably won't happen.
That is actually something they have done with World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Well, no, the War Within. Basically, the mount that you get for either the Heroic or Epic Edition, you get them out instantly, but there's also a quest line in-game. When you complete the quest line, you unlock some lightning effects. Overall, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, yeah, the mount comes with some dragon riding races, and it's actually kind of fun, so I don't really mind that. If you're going to sell a store mount, you may as well sell a good one. It's almost like the same...
Look at, bro, we've been boiled so much, man. It went from don't sell store mounts to, we don't like store mounts, and to, like, okay, I wish you didn't sell store mounts, to, if you're going to sell a store mount, at least sell a good store mount. Like, fuck, man, this is so dumb. I'm so mad. I think I bought this.
Rule that goes on with some of those League of Legends skins. It's like, if you're going to sell skins, and that's going to be the thing you do, you better make them a full retheme, new sounds, new animations, the whole shebang in the Christmas sync.
Yeah.
Also, an instant delivery of platinum, the in-game currency. Also, platinum per season.
So platinum, that's what I was talking about, the silver coins that you can get throughout a season. They can build up, especially if the battle pass or whatever. You can set them towards your cosmetic items that are in the shop and stuff like that. So that's what platinum is.
So basically just being drip fed.
I love how, like, why is 2,000 platinum worth $80? Why? Because they made it up. That's why. If they said 2,000 platinum.
Agreed. Dude, I can't tell you how bad or how expensive just purchasing shit like that is. It's retarded. It's way overpriced.
See, I need to make one of these games.
amount of platinum per season for that expansion. That's a
Why isn't
fairly
it worth
genius way of trying to
$100?
lock people in for more. Also,
Yeah.
some cosmetic wings. Now, this is where we learn a bit more about how these surveys are done, because you can see here in the $69.99 expansion, no hero skin, no mount, some platinum, no yearly platinum, wings.
I wish like one game would have like a bozo hat that you can buy, and the more money that you spend on the game, the larger the bozo hat is for you. I feel like the perfect game for this would be Lost Ark. But I worry if it was in Lost Ark, people would have bozo hats bigger than Valton.
4-day early access, a functional item, stash space,
Like
and
a
of course the base
massive
game
one.
being included, but a
Bozo's
full
jar,
year,
yeah.
4-season accelerated battle
Cover
pass
the
of
screen.
$100 value. And that's the way that they'll be trying to test all of these things
Mm-hmm.
against each other. So yeah, obviously battle pass is being included. Is it just one premium battle pass? Is it a full year premium battle pass? Is it a full year accelerated battle pass? Also, they're testing early access to the game, this case being
I don't get how people care about this. Like, I really don't. Like, why do people give a fuck about a battle pass? Like, I've never given a fuck. I don't get it. Like, I'll do a battle pass if it has like a reward, but like, I just look at it as a quest. Like, I would never do a battle. Like, why would I do a battle pass just to get a cosmetic? Like, who cares? It's a money cosmetic. It's a money item. Like, what the fuck?
So this is one area where I kind of disagree with Asmon a little bit. Not so much with the fact that they charge for battle passes, because the first season that we did of Diablo 4, they actually granted you a free battle pass. And unfortunately, they tricked a lot of people into activating it, which is what happened with me in season 1. So I activated the battle pass, but I have to say, like, I got some cool cosmetics out of it. So when I was doing 1 through 50, I managed to complete, a good portion of the battle pass. So I got cool items or cool cosmetics. I mean, I don't know how to tell you this, but most of the cosmetics in your transmog wardrobe in Diablo 4, most of the ones I have are garbage. I don't use them. I only go with like certain ones, and a lot of times it's the ones that I get through the achievements. So Blood Harvest gave you some cosmetics, and season 1, if you played, you got some cool cosmetics that way. Season 3 will probably be the same way. So I don't, even horses and stuff. So like, I don't agree with Asmon in the sense that, yeah, it's just clothing and looks, but looks are cool. Like, and it's kind of hypocritical of Asmon, because he's in World of Warcraft. He's constantly always complaining about, oh, well, this transmog is awesome. I mean, he doesn't have to pay for it. He has to like get it through the game, but he still cares about the way he looks, his characters look. I mean, usually every gamer does. So if you're getting free cosmetics, like through stuff like Blood Harvest, who gives a fuck? And if you're someone that pays for a battle pass because you want a chance to get some of those cosmetics, who gives a fuck? It's your money.
4 days. It's good at least they're not thinking about doing 7 days. That's something that we recently saw with FIFA. Well, it's not FIFA 24. It's now EA Sports FC 24.
Oh, good.
Also, a companion, a non-player companion that accompanies you in-game, providing some conveniences and utility, such as access to your stash or gold pickups.
Hold up.
So, a companion, a non-player companion
that accompanies you in-game, providing some conveniences and utility, such as access to your stash or gold pickups. Click here to see an example. This is a link to a Lost Ark video. Wow. Convenient.
Yeah, so Diablo 3 had something that I really liked. I wish that Diablo 4 had. Whether or not it would help you in boss fights, I don't know. But Diablo 3, you were able to use a companion. So at the time, I was a sorceress, and if I wanted to bring along a rogue or a paladin or another mage along with me, I could do that. Then also you would get these in-game achievements. So it's sort of like another type of cosmetic, whatever. I get this little gnome in Diablo 3. and this gnome would go around and pick up all the gold for me. Like, so instead of me running around trying to pick it up myself, every time I killed a bunch of mobs, this little gnome would run around and get it for me if I attached him or if I equipped him to my character. And it was very convenient. Now, I've heard DM and a few others talk about the loot filter, which I think would be great too. It's something I think is really needed, mainly because as you get further in the game, like the blues and the yellows become irrelevant. And unless you're, because they've increased the gold that you pick up, it's almost not necessary unless you're getting materials from those items that you destroy at the blacksmith. But having a companion run around and get like gold that's out there, because like there's sometimes, dude, you're flying so fast through the field, and this is the thing, because sometimes like I do like if I go through and kill a bunch of things and I come back and I teleport back to a city, any legendaries that you miss will show up in your chest. You'll see the little icon blinking. And that's very helpful that it picks it up for you, but it doesn't pick up anything else. It's just the legendary stuff. But I learned that it doesn't pick them all up. So that's troubling, because if you destroy a bunch of shit and you have like 20 legendaries sitting out there, you're only going to get a few of them that come to the city with you. So you have to teleport back and go pick up the rest. So a companion would be nice. A companion that would help you fight would be even nicer. Like, especially for a sorcerer. One thing I learned, like with my druid on tier 3, was when I went and fought Varshan. Dude, I could sit right in front of Varshan and he wouldn't do shit to me. I was just crushing him. Like, granted, it wasn't like I was just destroying him in one shot. Like, I was defeating him, but his damage did nothing to me. Now, tier 4, bit of a different story, but I'm still like only 79 or something with my druid, whereas Varshan in tier 4 is like at least a 75, and he does like 80 plus damage or something like that, as far as like a level 80, I think. So he's pretty mean on tier 4. But it was nice to be able to sit there and watch for the first time a character of mine fight one boss and like not worry about dying. It was really kind of a nice thing to have.
Convenience isn't pay to win. Yeah, it is. Of course it's pay to win. Let me explain how it's pay to win. You have 10 hours a day to play the game. If you can save 1 hour with convenience saving measures, you now have 11 hours to play the game. And now you have an advantage over somebody else who's spending the same amount of time in the game as you are. It's like, what? Well, how can you think that? Convenience is 100% pay to win. There is no difference. Pay for convenience and pay to win are functionally the same thing.
Yes and no. You can tell I'm kind of getting tipsy because I've been drinking beer here. Pay to one is convenient, yes, for certain things. So let's rewind, because we're getting close to the campfire chat starting soon, but we'll probably end up coming back to this video later. But pay to win is convenient in some ways. However, with World of Warcraft, this is the thing. This is one of the reasons why I named my series this. When I raid alone. And I've talked about it before. World of Warcraft, I'm a solo player. I'm again, I have my own guild. It's just me. I've tried to invite people, but it's more of a laid back guild. So like, I'm not on all the time. Right now, I'm not even playing it. But whenever I level up through different expansions of Warcraft, I go back to old expansions that I never completed, raids on and dungeons, and I go through and I complete them because I get achievements for that, achievement points. And so let's say like I've gotten like some mounts via going back to old expansions and beating those raids by myself, because I'm powerful enough to go in and just wipe the floor with all of them. And so if I was lucky enough to get those drops, I got them. Same with fighting any like random creature in the world. Like right now, Dragonflight, maybe expansion 2 later, I'll be able to come back to Dragonflight and get a lot of the like I'll be able to get that fucking purple dragon or proto drake from the raid in that, right? So when it comes to going back and getting like convenience with the pay to win, right? So like World of Warcraft puts stuff into their shop that was once an achievement or something you can get through the game. Well, now you can go and like pay for $25 to get a mount that might have been available 3 expansions earlier through achievement through raid. So in other words, because we're getting ready to start the Blizzard stream soon. If Asmon cries because he worked his ass off to get a mount through a raid through Burning Crusade, and then 3 years later it's offered up in the shop for money for $25, I'm gonna buy it. The reason for that, it's not just about convenience, it's about the fact that I don't have the following you do. I don't have the amount of time to spend jumping into raid groups like you do. I don't know that many people online like you do. But if I like that fucking mount that you have and they offer it for money, I'm going to buy it, dude. And there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. And quit whining about it. Like, you want to work hard, you want that challenge to go and get that special mount that you got in Dragonflight, great. I commend you for it. Like, that's your game. You know what you're doing. You are a gamer. You know how to win. You know how to do this. I'm not as good as you. But if I can sit right next to you on that fucking purple proto drake, I'm gonna fucking do it. You damn Skippy, I'm gonna do it. Okay, it looks like our stream is starting, at least like some promo stuff before. So we'll come back to this afterwards, and we'll kick this in the start. Let's see.
Malignant. To recap, Malignant Powers were a boost in a previous season that granted you various abilities. In the Season of Blood, though, you can expect to find 5 of these powers in unique rings that harness the power of the Malignant starting November 7th. Now, a good amount of those Malignant powers are incredibly strong. The Diablo team are reworking and bringing these powers back, but with a healthy balance in mind for the long term. One of these in particular is a fan favorite, the Sacrilegious. This ring, if you don't remember, will auto-cast all your corpse skills, but will have a separate cooldown for each skill cast. Raise Skeleton and Corpse Explosion cast every 1 to 2 seconds, where Corpse Tendrils can be cast every 8 to 16 seconds. I didn't get a chance to play Necromancer, I know, sadly, in the Season of Malignant, so I'm excited. I'm stoked to jump right in. Barbarians, do you remember Focus Raged? Well, it's now called Furor. After spending 100 Fury, within 3 seconds, your next Hammer of the Ancients, Upheaval, or Death Blow is guaranteed to crit and do more damage. Smash. Very good. For rogues, the Trickery power will make a return when you use the Subterfuge skill, leave behind a trap that taunts enemies and explodes demons to pieces. Sorceresses can obtain the power of Tal Rasha himself, gaining increased damage for each element you deal damage with. And druids, we got a rename here. Inexorable Force is now called Inexorable Will. So when you cast your ultimate skill, you pull up to 30 enemies toward you and deal damage. It's so great to see these Malignant powers return. It's just more tools to build with, and I'm all for it. All right, Adam, I hope you're ready to sink your teeth into some of these questions.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited to get into it.
Let's do it. I got to ask, will all the Malignant powers eventually make a return to the game?
Yeah, we have no current plans to bring back every single Malignant power, but we are taking a look at what players love, and we're very open to the idea of bringing back fan favorites.
Well, I want all of them, so where can I find them?
Yeah, so you can start finding these powers when you get into World Tier 3, and if you want to target farm them, then you'll be able to get them off of our Sean.
Target farming is like one of the coolest features in Diablo 4. So I love that we have the ability to do that. Will every seasonal theme
Queue
also make their way
system.
back into the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's likely you're not going to see every single part of a seasonal theme come back into Diablo 4, but we're definitely taking a look at what parts of these themes resonate with players, and we're open to the idea of kind of bringing back the things that people really love to improve the game experience for everyone.
All this sounds absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Hope you enjoy your time in Sanctuary.
I'll see you in Sanctuary. That just about does it for today. Shout out to you guys for watching all the way through. We appreciate it, and I'll see you in Sanctuary.
Hello, welcome Diablo 4 community to another episode of Diablo 4 Campfire Chats. My name is Adam Fletcher. I am the Director of Community here for Diablo. Of course, I'm joined by two very familiar faces here. Mr. Joe Shelley, Game Director of Diablo 4, Mr. Joe Pipora, who is the Associate Game Director for Diablo 4. We have a quick stream to go over some stuff that's coming down the road here in the next couple weeks, which includes Abattoir Zir and Midwinter Blight. So lots to talk about. But what's kind of cool about this stream is that it is our final stream of the year, the final stream of 2023.
We're closing it out.
We're closing it out, and this is actually it's been a year now since we started these streams. We started with Diablo 4 developer updates on, was it mid-December last year, I believe. So we're hitting a 1-year anniversary now, and of course on that debut stream I had these two wonderful gentlemen who joined us as well. So yeah, we have it's been a year. It's crazy.
We've all grown so much.
I know. We went from hand models to holding maps and things like that
Yeah, that was fun.
Campfire Chats, which we even brought to BlizzCon, which was actually really cool last month. And fun. Of course, now we're here to talk about Abattoir of Zir. But before we actually do jump into that, I know there is a very popular question within chat and a very popular question within the community that we want to address before we jump in, which is Diablo 4 bringing pay for power to the game?
Yeah, no. We're not. We've been very clear about this throughout, and I think very consistent about it, and that continues to be true. And that also applies to things like addressing stash, making sure that players have enough stash space to store things. We talked about this at BlizzCon. We talked about getting inventory. We had a stash tab. We think that having enough space for a regular player to feel like they are good in terms of being able to store the things they need is baseline functionality. Yeah, and we have no plans to add any pay for power.
Stash tabs are still a problem, man. I got all these uniques. I got something to do with them.
We've been seeing it a lot in chat, even as we were in our countdown. We wanted to make sure we talked about it early with everyone to reassure people that no, that is not the plan for Diablo 4. And players are still going to be able to enjoy it without the need of needing to pay for any type of power or anything like that. So, and there won't be any of that in there. So great to hear. And I know that we have a lot to talk about today. The first thing we did want to mention, though, is actually Midwinter Blight, which is an event that is actually going to be coming up here on December 12th. It is our holiday event. It's actually our first holiday event. It's funny because people have asked us about, hey, what about Halloween? We kind of remind people that like Season of Blood is kind of Halloween. It's very much focused in around vampires.
It's got skeletons. I mean, it's got all the same stuff you expect to get from a Halloween.
Skeletons?
Exactly. So Midwinter Blight coming December 12th is our holiday event that we talked about and we announced at BlizzCon. Yeah. But we wanted to talk a little bit more about that today. Joe, can you give us a little bit more info? Joe P.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Midwinter Blight, as I know that people got a chance to see some of the video stuff before, and like we talked about at BlizzCon, but Midwinter Blight is obviously our first true and proper holiday event. We're bringing the Sanctuary in Diablo 4. In it, we're going to be visiting the Fractured Peaks again, where a horrible storm has descended upon the people of the here we are. Descended upon the people of the Fractured Peaks. We're going to be introduced to a new character named Gillian, who's a bard. Gillian is here trying to rouse the spirits of the people of Kiovashad, trying to help them work together to push back against a new threat that's emerging from the hills and mountains nearby, coming down from the glacier and down from the mountainous peaks nearby.
So, Joe, can I trust this guy though? Because I don't have a good track record with musicians.
I think that anyone that plays music in the Fractured Peaks is generally trustworthy.
Okay.
So I think that you're going to be
looking a little sketch there.
I don't know. I trusted all those folks in the West.
I don't think that's fair to those of us who boast to have nice facial hair. I think that Gillian is a perfectly trustworthy person. So with that in mind, so Gillian's there trying to rouse people together, and they're going to be sending the heroes of Sanctuary off into the Fractured Peaks. It's this new threat, the Red Cloak Horror and his minions. We're out there kind of like causing great mayhem. They're kind of erecting these disgusting snow sculptures out of discarded parts throughout the environment. Yeah, here is a group of the Red Cloak Horror's minions just kind of like running around. They're very, very dangerous creatures. But they're also fun. They're kind of like they're having a good time with it. Like they're enjoying.
Krampus, right? We're in December, Christmas, Krampus. Anybody getting those vibes? I'm getting those vibes.
Enjoying the season. They're in it for the spirit of it, which is just basically causing a lot of mayhem and destruction and pain for the people. So you get a chance to feel a little bit of that as you're going through the event. Here is our main boy, the Red Cloak Horror himself. This is going to be your opportunity to go and fight this boss. Will occasionally pop into the content. You'll get good rewards from him as you're kind of progressing through the event. And you will take all of these like trophies and things you're collecting from all of his minions, and kind of as you're engaging in various events and saving people in Sanctuary, able to bring these back to Kyovashad, be able to unlock some really cool cosmetics.
Awesome, yeah, and I know there's even a few like kind of exclusive things for.
Cosmetics. I think Aswan just got scared.
Or beyond the cosmetics for this event, such as we have an elixir, for instance, that actually grants a little bit more experience.
Yeah. There's an elixir that grants.
Oh yeah. What are these? Are these helms?
10% extra experience when you're drinking it. It also gives you other effects when you're active inside the Fractured Peaks, but you can also just use it for the XP if you want.
And I will note the XP actually does work even outside of Fractured Peaks. So it's like, hey, it's an extra bonus for players if they're looking to grab a little bit of extra experience. And then there is also for this event a new like offensive aspect.
Yeah, there's a new seasonal aspect you get to play with. It kind of like dovetails with some of the new shrines and things that we have throughout the environment. So there's a lot of fun stuff for players to engage with throughout the season. And again, a lot of really cool cosmetics to collect.
Yeah, so it's a lot of cool stuff coming in Midwinter Blight.
And these the things some folks might be wondering if the things like the elixirs and the aspects persist after Midwinter Blight ends, and they do, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they will persist after the event ends, but you'll only be able to collect them now during this period of time.
Exactly. So like stock up. There you go. Yeah. Stock up for the elixirs themselves, and of course, Midwinter Blight is on December 12th. So make sure to log in, and it'll be running through the holidays for players to actually jump in and check out from that end. But the next other big thing,
that's like 2 weeks away.
Exactly.
What's happening next week?
Yeah, what's happening next week? So we're actually going to go back to the week prior to December 12th, and on December 5th.
As you would naturally do. You naturally work out 2 weeks, then come back a week as you're talking through things.
Yeah. Organization. But we're actually going to move to December 5th, which will be the Abattoir of Zir. This is a new end game mode that we're actually adding to
Need a queue system.
Diablo 4. It's for a limited time only. It's a seasonal event specifically that we announced at BlizzCon. And we are actually, for the first time on one of our streams, we're going to have a live run through of the Abattoir Zir, starring. You won't be able to see this wonderful man on camera, but he is mic'd up because we wanted to hear him struggle. That is Filthy Rich. He's actually a senior community manager on the community team here on Diablo. You may have recognized his name on our forums. Posting patch notes, hotfix notes, etc. Rich is amazing, and he is actually going to be showcasing a little bit of Abattoir Zir for us. Okay.
Right off
you can pet the dog in Diablo 4.
When we practiced this, the dog wasn't there.
in case it wasn't clear, that is still a feature that exists in the game.
Yeah.
Say hi, Rich.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. There's a spin of friendship. Okay, so we are. Yeah, it's funny. It's like last stream of the year, and we're doing it live. This is fun.
Now, and when we say live, we're talking about this is a live, like he's playing for real right now.
Yes.
That is what I was referencing, but I wasn't clear. That's true.
But it is on a dev server.
Yep.
So we won't run into other players, and it is on a dev build. So there might be some debug text or
unless
other
the dev
stuff.
just happens to run it through, who's also on this.
Could
server, but
happen.
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you might see some weird stuff, folks. And if people,
I'm
honestly,
fearful we just sent out this megaphone to the team
Oh.
also running over
All right.
the ridge.
Well, anyway, this
if-
is the first time we've done something like that.
that's absolutely right. And if you complain about it, we just won't do it again. And wouldn't you rather just see really cool stuff? I bet you would. So let's see.
All right. So Rich, what build are you going to be running here for us today?
Yeah, so on my side, I'm actually going to be running a popular build, the Ball Lightning build. I'm going to wait for Joe to kind of explain some of the earlier stuffs, basically a lot of the gameplay loop stuff, but pretty familiar for those who've been watching a lot of the end game material for Ball Lightning. Specifically for this, I really focused around like survivability, mobility, with a sprinkle of DPS, but I think
Oh, wait, hold up. I can't tell like what his attack power is, but dude, his armor and life are like off the charts. Looks like he has 12,000 armor and 12,000 life. But he looks like he only has like 7 or 9,000 attack power. So this is
I think
interesting.
before we get into
With a
it,
sprinkle.
sprinkle.
Yeah,
Ball
yeah,
lightning
you talk
known
about
for
ball
it's
lightning.
low damage output capacity. Absolutely. So Rich here. So let's say we're talking about the abattoirs here.
9,000,
I know we
yeah.
talked about this before, but to get initiated, it's going to be a new end game dungeon content experience for players to engage with that really unlocks after you finish the season journey of season 2. So if you really want to go and start going through this content, you'll need to have done all the things in the season beforehand to be able to gain access to the very first Blood Forge sigil you're able to craft here at the Occultist. Now, once you've taken this sigil, this is going to open up a new dungeon space that's going to be more challenging than a tier 100 Nightmare dungeon. Now, there are 25 tiers of the abattoirs here for players to engage with. And each of these does get progressively much more challenging as you step up. Much more challenging than, say, going from like a tier 75 Nightmare dungeon to a tier 76 Nightmare dungeon. Going from a tier 1 to a tier 2 to a tier 3, these are really significant steps by comparison. So, and we want this because like we're getting like season 2 has been a lot of fun. Like I'm having a lot of fun playing even my Firewall Sork right now. We want to make sure that there's a really good place for players to be able to bring all of this power they've been collecting from like whether they're farming Duriel for Uber Uniques or just they get a really, really great combination of Vampiric Powers. I have a place where they can go to really show off and like really push hard into a type of content. That's the focus here.
Yeah, and we mentioned you mentioned just now that the avatar requires that you've completed the season journey.
Yes.
Right? And so the season journey, the last step of the season journey requires you can skip two of the objectives, but there's still difficult objectives like kill Duriel, even if you skip like Echo of Lilith and the tier 90 Nightmare dungeon requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not arbitrary. That's because characters who aren't able to do that really are not ready for Avatar Azir. So
yep.
I know there are a lot of folks who are level 100 out there who maybe haven't completed this yet. We've got this weekend coming out.
Yes.
So get your season journey finished.
Exactly. And if players still haven't completed it by this weekend or when Avatar Azir actually hits, they can still complete it anytime when the seasonal event is actually going on and jump in even afterwards. So if you've got plans this weekend or something like that and can't finish it, don't worry, it's okay. You can still do that over the next couple of weeks because this event will be going through January or the beginning of January itself.
Right.
So
you still have time.
You still have time. So I know Rich here has actually, as we were talking, spawned a level 1 avatar using the sigils himself right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a good opportunity for him to kind of jump in.
So Rich has done a little of this content on his character here already. So he's got a little bit of a preview of how it's going to play, how it's going to feel to play through. But I think it's going to be pretty fun. Let's see how he performs.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I did want to address on that I saw from chat is that character that I have is as close as I can be to being maxed out. Because this is trying to be as relatively close to what I've been practicing on, which has been the tier level 100 Nightmare Dungeons. And I think there's a few things that I wanted to call out as well. On the actual sigil itself, I think one difference here is that I'm not aware of what afflictions I'm going to encounter in this battle. So I think capping things or getting as close to as capped I can for things like my armor, my magic resist, my damage, and all those. Just really trying to be ready and prepared for any surprises.
Yeah, I know Rich is because you've played through Abattoir a little bit, you've built a little bit more survival on your Sork here, as opposed to completely glass cannon. He's a little bit more prepared than I think some other people would be. But I know with us showcasing here a level 1 Abattoir, kind of at least showcases a little bit. How would you guys compare this to a Nightmare Dungeon in terms of tier difficulty, or would it be similar to a Nightmare Dungeon in terms of tier with a level 1?
Yeah, the level 1 Abattoir of Zir is kind of close to what a level 104 might be. That's kind of where things start, and then things step up from there. Now, you'll see here right off the bat, there's some big differences, right? On the right-hand side, you see that there's a bar that's being filled. Abattoir of Zir runs are really races against time. So Rich here is really focused on killing creatures as fast as he can in an effort to kind of beat that timer and summon the boss at the end of the experience. Loot's not dropping for him as he's kind of rolling through this thing. We don't want to slow you down. We want to keep you killing as fast as you can to show off your ability to kind of survive in these environments. Now, as we step up, one thing we think is interesting about this is we actually taking one step back, actually. Some of the things that Joe's talked about when we were at BlizzCon was our commitment to end game content and itemization rewards and things. The things we want to do to continue to make the game better. Abattoir of Zir is it's designed explicitly to appeal to players who are at this stage of the gameplay experience, and we're going to be using it to kind of think about and iterate upon more features like this we want to bring out in the future. That's one of the reasons why it's a seasonal event. It's a fun experience.
One thing I noticed is that the dungeons don't really look any different than what you're already running. So in terms of looks, this dungeon doesn't look anything creative or expansive to what we've already seen. So that's kind of disappointing on that level. I expected to see something a little more newer or expansive to what we've already seen dungeon wise.
Experience for season 2, but we'll have slightly different ideas in the future of how we want to kind of create similar content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and I know with we can see Rich. By the way, Rich has been so lucky with shrines every single time we've watched him go through.
Yeah,
he consistently gets artillery shrines, which I'm just gonna claim I don't know, community manager.
Community manager RNG. Yes.
Yeah.
I think part of it. I'm going to be 100% honest with everyone here and those watching. I went super tanky because I think one of the nightmares that I would have is actually to die in the middle of a demo.
We'll make that happen. I promise.
Explains all his armor.
With level 1, as you can see, Rich is well ahead of time, so he's clearly geared out and ready for a level 1. But at the end of these abattoirs, we'll see here in a second as he gets to time, we do have a little bit of a kind of an end period for players, a little bit more of a challenge towards the end.
Yeah. So and one thing that's making this particularly interesting is with the Vampiric Powers in season 2, with Rich running Metamorphosis regularly. I mean, he's basically got permanent unstoppable. As he's just kind of using Flicker Staff to keep resetting that unstable currents, and he is just keeping that 4-second unstoppable uptime. And he has summoned the boss, and wow, that was spicy right off the bat. So every time you manage to clear one of these levels, you're going to summon 3 Bloodseekers who are, pretty strong. They're going to have affixes of their own that you're going to have to go ahead and clear through. The timer is still ticking, but Rich has got a really good, healthy lead on the timer right now, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a question of whether or not he gets spiked by something he didn't expect. But with the amount of barrier you should be able to pack with your Sork at this point, I don't think that should be a problem.
I don't know.
This is a unfavorable spawn.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like this spot.
You're in some tight corners.
I think in every single practice this has happened, but what I'm feeling lucky about is that I don't have a suppressor.
He's avoiding those traps, though.
But yes, I'll pass it back over to you because there's actually some pretty cool stuff to call out over here.
Yeah. So okay. So upon finishing your first run through the Abattoir of Zir, you're going to earn the special glyph associated with the seasonal event, which is the Tears of Blood glyph that you can see here. Now, Rich has already spent some XP on this, upgrading it before. But this is an extraordinarily powerful multiplicative bonus glyph you get to kind of slot in. This has got 200 levels associated with it for you to upgrade through over the course of time. It starts out at the size of a tier 15 normal glyph, normal rare glyph. So it is extremely strong right off the bat. So you're going to be able to use this to kind of help you get through some of the more difficult tiers as you go deeper and deeper into the experience. And there's one other really neat thing about this as well. So this experience, the Tears of Blood glyph itself has like a lot of Paragon glyph XP that you need in order to upgrade it as you continue to go on through the experience. And one of the things you wanted to do was make sure that if you're at this stage, if you want to experiment with other glyphs, you can still you get giant amounts of XP from finishing Abattoir 0 level.
Players
from tier 1
saw 1,000 XP.
From a tier 1, you get 1,000. So if you want to use this as an opportunity to kind of rank up some of those other glyphs you've got, because you want to play with other things for other builds and other things, here's an opportunity for you to kind of going quickly, level up a bunch of those other glyphs that you have. In addition to not taking too much time away from your Tears of the Blood if you're trying to keep pace with that. But we think that's an extra fun little bit. But yeah, Tears of Blood glyph, super powerful for players to be able to engage with. Again, it's only here for the season, and it'll be retired at the end of that season.
Yeah, and we just saw Rich, of course, churn through a level 1 pretty easily. I struggled a little at the end, but
there was a little struggle. I got a little nervous.
It wasn't too bad. But I know, Rich, what key or what sigils do you have here?
So I think what I did over there was a sigil 1. I think what we were talking about was trying to make an engagement moment, basically by having chat almost pick the challenge ahead. So what I've pre-crafted beforehand is a 2, a 6, as well as a 10. Funny enough, I created backups for this because hey, I might die. But I think it's just one of those things where I would love to reserve the 10 and beyond levels for a later moment.
Yes.
But Adam, you had a great idea.
And as a reminder, tiers for Abattoir 0 go up to 25.
Yep.
So there are a significant amount of tiers, and they, of course, go up in difficulty by a pretty, almost an exponential amount as you're going from tier to tier. But be curious. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll never get those the way that things are right now, just because until you can get through all your bosses and get the gear necessary to compete. I tried Uber Lilith a while back. Of course, this was a different build. Got one-shotted just like that. So, and as I said, I tried to go back to Grigori with my Necromancer, which is only about 87, but still, I think if I took my my Sorcerer in there, I'd win, but I'd probably struggle. So it's just really weird that some of these streamers and gamers are able to get their characters up so high in power that for the rest of us that are casuals, it's very difficult to be able to compete on that level. So I don't know. It's going to be kind of a waste for some of us that we'll never get a chance to fight this Abattoir 0.
You already asked the chat, and the chat is already going screaming 10.
Yeah.
So they just want you to die.
Okay. We said we're gonna let chat choose 2, 6, or 10. We'll see what they say. I'm it's gonna be 10. They're gonna absolutely want to see.
They're gonna want to see 10. So Rich, take us into a tier 10, and let's see how he does. Now, are you gonna?
You're going to die.
Well, too. I just want to call it you.
I mean, a few things here. I think for the players at home is that obviously you saw that the previous one I was geared up to be a little bit more tanky because the last thing that I want to do is embarrass myself and die on there. But I think what Joe and team can do is also explain how some of the scaling works as I go up. So I think I'll just go in. I think what I'm trying to balance out now is just try to add a little bit more damage output by sacrificing some of my tankiness. Just because I anticipate that the higher HP is going to be a challenge. And I don't want to lose to the time. And I actually want to see how far I can progress. So let me activate this.
I was you went back in without activating.
The nerves. It's the nerves.
Yeah, to Rich's point here, I mean, it's not easy to play games on stream, right?
No,
No,
it's not.
No, so this is why we're gonna have him narrate a full Romeo and Juliet play to us as he's playing,
yeah,
to ensure
Full color commentary.
Full concentration on this.
No, so to Rich's point earlier about how the scaling works. So as we were experimenting with this content, one of the things we discovered pretty quickly is we just didn't want to continue to scale monster damage up, in a really, really
yeah, he definitely uses
kind of going through this content.
lightning balls.
We really want to focus a
like
lot more on monster health scaling as you go, because we quickly get to a point where like any bat that kind of like clips you, which is basically just completely ice you unless you're invulnerable at that point, and it just makes it a less fun experience overall. So we want to make sure
pretty
we're
good,
about,
man.
like, can
His
you beat that
wife's not
timer?
really
Can you
taking
survive the
any
bosses
hits.
at the end?
Ooh,
not as much about like
shot
damage
there.
is so high over the course of time that there's no opportunity
Mana
for
regen
classes
is
to be
good.
able to perform, right?
Yeah, and the Tears of Blood glyph really is going to increase your damage output.
Yes.
Right, so leveling that up.
Did you actually have your Tears for Blood glyph equipped?
Oh, is it equipped?
So I did not, and I think one of the things that I wanted to do, I mean, for me, I think as I've been going in and testing it, like I think it's actually been a pretty cool experience to see like how it's been with and without. I think just exploring a little bit more into it as well. Like while my Paragon board is optimized for what I have here, it's definitely opening up a lot more. Oh, hold on a second.
Also, you didn't replenish your potions before you.
I
went
tried
in
to
here.
warn him.
So
it's about. This is for the
mistakes
stream.
were made.
This is for
the stream.
Oh, I see. You're
This
trying
is
to
for
give
the
yourself a
stream,
disadvantage
right?
for clicks. I see.
This is for the stream.
We got more max potions.
Yeah,
that's true.
So
You did get that.
Rich did not do himself a few favors here. One, he did not replenish his potions, and then two, he did not equip a Tears for Blood glyph.
Yeah, they are falling behind that timer pretty quickly at this point.
Because he wanted to be a show off and is not showing off.
Well, it's interesting to see how
He's a
valuable-
man's
you
man,
earlier,
baby.
How valuable the vampiric powers are in this content as well.
Yeah.
Really configuring those.
Yeah, I mean, if you're permanently unstoppable, like Snake Family is a lot less dangerous to deal with across the board. Like you don't have to deal with that charging stun. You don't have to deal with you don't have to deal with the paralyzed. Like there's you have some advantages. I think it's funny that we got snakes randomly twice in a row.
Yeah,
but hey, that's the nature of live gameplay.
And I will say
it's not just snakes though. You can see other things in this.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Each time you enter Avatar of Zir, you're going to have different monsters, different tile sets, different layouts.
And I think the big thing here is that my eye is definitely drawn into the timer compared to how it was in the tier 1. I'm definitely not taking out as many monsters as I need to get the potions, and that timer is really hurting my feelings right now.
That and
everything seems fine.
I will say, like, the normal progression for players will be
oh my gosh.
Well then that ends the story of Rich. And I will say that the normal progression for players is not to go immediately to a 10. Chat deemed that you needed to go to a 10 immediately.
Yeah.
And Rich deemed that he did not need to actually equip his Tears of Blood glyph.
Yeah.
So
But this takes us to an interesting point. What happens when you die in it?
So when you die in the video game, you die in the video game. So actually, you're going to lose your run because you have no respawns available when you go through a Abattoir of Zir run. So you'll have to go back. You'll have to make another key. That progress is going to be lost. So
so just a word for warning for like even like a double I guess penalty for hardcore players. Lose your character and you lose your run.
Huge double penalty.
One major penalty and one small one. So
I think I do want to just follow up on the mention earlier of what happens at the very end. I think the trying to return back to the adventure, but being surprised by this is something that we wanted to call out as well.
Yeah, so like basically, the portal's gonna be there while the event is active, but unless you've actually used a sigil to kick it off, you're basically just gonna be able to come to this like kind of broken edifice here, and there's nowhere else to go.
I'd be curious, like if you are in here with like a party, can you revive other party members as if they happen to die?
When a player goes down, the run is over.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. There we go. So I know
wow.
there's a few people asking questions like, hey, if I'm running this with the
So
group,
wait, you can run them
anyone
with
dies
other
there,
players,
it's
though.
a
So
it's
that's
a
good
done
news.
run. So it is a little punishing, but at the same time, it is end game content.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, sure. I mean, one of the things really interesting about having content like this at the end games, we do want to make sure that there are lots of ways, as you've seen in season 2, to like farm up different gear that you want and make sure that you can get your characters to be really, really powerful. But then when you get into the next tier of content, like, do we want you to continually always get more gear to always replace the gear that you have, right? So the Tears of Blood Glyph is an example of us like kind of experimenting with different ideas of progression for players and see how these things feel. Like, we want to make sure that there's always more things you want to go try to do, and always more things for you to go push for your character. But how much you have to like reintegrate, aspects of your build every time you like kind of go through a content tier feels like we talk about quite a bit.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm really excited about for this is, so Tears of Blood is going to be like really, really powerful. Again, 200 tiers, multiplicative damage increases. It continues to scale up as you go. It's very, very strong. It's going to be fun to see players who are able to see how far people can eschew that, like not use the Tears of Blood Glyph, and see how far they're able to actually get into the content. So I think that's going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm hoping players end up, sending us tweets on social or sorry, it's not tweets anymore. X posts.
Yeah, posts and reposts
on social, or posting on Reddit and forums of like how far they can actually progress. It'll be really cool to see where the community kind of lands and where some of our more hardcore players end up landing as well, especially hardcore characters, people that really risk everything to try out this content. So there we go. So that's Abattoir Azir. Abattoir Azir again hits on December 5th. It'll be with our next patch. And that will be next week. We actually plan on having patch notes available on Diablo4.com tomorrow. So it will be available for people to check out patch notes for that update hitting next week. So thank you again, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, Rich.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for sacrificing your dev build character for this.
Thank you for your sacrifice, the greater good.
Your live build.
Yes. This build I wanted to make as close as I can to in terms of a 1-to-1 representation of what I have on retail. I know for a lot of the people at home, it's important to try to have and see and play with something that's relevant to them. So yeah, just tried to do that. Excited to see everybody online. Let's farm up. Let's do this. See how high you can
get your season journey done. Because that is the requirement for jumping into Abattoir Azir and checking it out. Cool. So I know one thing that we do want to talk about as well that we had mentioned on social, and this is just a quick mention from us and a quick update from us, and it is around itemization. So one thing we do want to show off, though, is we all have, well, I'm not zipped up. I'm wearing my Diablo 4 bomber here. Oops. There we go. But
doing some extra hand
modeling. But yeah, we do have these really fancy little shirts here. You guys even remember the cute.
I remember.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah.
It's this is a playoff of Adam Jackson. Made this wonderful saying before. Damage on Tuesdays.
Damage on Tuesdays.
And yeah,
it felt appropriate for discussing.
We felt like this was an appropriate time to show off.
We're like, we're gonna take. Well, what we'll do is we'll take the jackets off while Rich is playing. We won't forget to do that.
We were supposed to do that.
We were supposed to do that to have this be like a better.
So instead, everyone just got to watch us awkwardly take off the hoodies and jackets. So, but yes,
I think the people loved it, obviously.
Yes, and I do want to give a shout out to Ricky on our art team. Richie on our art team, who actually ended up making these amazing damage.
Yeah, I love the graphic design on this.
Yeah, it's really cool. Little rogue shooting through Tuesday. But
Shelly's like, I'm not taking my bomber off.
Wanted to talk really quickly about that, and Joe.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot to talk about. At BlizzCon, Mr. Shelley himself got a chance to kind of talk about a few things that we've got coming. We have going on. We talked about some of the problems that we see with itemization out there today. I think just to kind of reiterate some of those points, as players are going through the experience, it is it's challenging the amount of mental bandwidth you have to use to process all of the items you're collecting. it's difficult to find upgrades because there's a really low chance for you to get like a perfect rare roll. And generally in ARPGs, it's
honestly, it's not the rolls that bother me the most. What still bothers me about it all is as you're going along and you're leveling up. So like right now, let's take any of my hundreds, like my rogue is 100 and my sorcerer is 100. Even if I'm not getting uniques to drop, but it is still a problem with uniques too. Anything that I get to drop is not my level or higher. So I'm still getting like 600 and 700 item level stuff at level 100. And it's just trash. It's a waste of space. It's a waste of time. Now I don't expect to replace a unique that say is 860 with a legendary that's 925. Like I don't expect to do that, but I would rather have that happen with like a yellow blue legendary or whatever still drop at like a 900 or better at level 100. Like you should not be getting trashy item level shit at 100. So even if like my druid right now is at 79, I think I shouldn't be getting items that are level or item level 600. That's so dumb. It's a waste of time. It's not helping me at all. And even the uniques that I get a lot of times are lower than my fucking character. It's a waste of time, dude. If you're a level 80 character, you should be getting an item level item, no matter what it is, at that level or higher. So whatever their scaling system is, I should not be getting like a unique at level 80 that's 700. Like it's a waste of time. It's a waste of a unique drop. And it sucks because you're trying to create your build around these uniques. So I still have uniques like on my rogue and my sorcerer that are actually not 925. I have one that's like 915 or whatever. And then I have a bunch that are like 860. Whenever I get other uniques that drop, they're not dropping at 925. So why is Duriel the only one that's doing that? It's just silly to me that it should not be happening in that way.
Okay for it to be a low chance for the roll to be perfect, but there's such a high degree of variability in items right now as they stand, where it's like usually it's like, okay, well, this item is 80% of what I want it to be, and that could feel okay to find that pretty regularly, but that could be kind of hard to find right now in Diablo 4, right? And feels almost virtually impossible. You can go through 200 pairs of gloves and not find a perfect pair of gloves, for your class. There's a lot of things that contribute to this. There's the number of different affixes that we have. There is the fact that we don't have a lot of things in place that say like you can't have like multiple skill ranks, on an item. Like right now, we allow you to have like 3 different plus core skill ranks on an item occasionally, and that doesn't really serve anybody. So one of the things we want to think about a lot as we're looking towards 2024, because like it's December, we're looking back at a year of talking together and trying to paint a picture of like what we want moving forward for us. We want to be thinking more about like we have plans for solving these kinds of problems. We also see that there's not enough like runway with items either. Like there's a lot more they could be doing for the player when they drop for players. So one of the things we want to think about more as we get into 2024 is having items really be kind of like the start of a journey. So when something drops for you as a player, we want that to be like cool. You want to be able to get this and say, this is awesome. I can't wait to do X, Y, and Z to this and make it like really, really great, right? Like this is the perfect thing that I need for my build. And to feel that you've got more chances like to modify and customize that and really incorporate that into what you want for your particular play style. That's important for like player expression, for build making. It
worked well with Blood Harvest, and
so Oh yeah, let me catch up.
There were some things that got less powerful, but we really sort of I think we did a great job delivering.
Customize that and really incorporate that into what you want.
Okay, so here's the thing. Because they mentioned about the expansion, right? We talked about the expansion through the other video. They're telling you that if you buy a certain package that you'll get like a certain unique that will drop that will help you pre-game. So like I don't know, you start at like level 1 or whatever, and you have like this one unique or legendary item. And that's all fine and well. Now the issue though is if you have a unique item at level 20, well, within 5 levels, that unique becomes useless. And that's the thing right now that I'm finding, because like my stash tabs with my characters are full of uniques that are lower level. So sure, if I start another character and I'm leveling up, I can probably access those uniques for a short period of time, but then they're going to become obsolete once I get up to 100. And that's kind of a waste. So like, unless they have a way to, like, if you want to keep the uniques a rare drop, and I don't know, let's just say the Oculus, which I finally got from my sorceress in the Beast of Ice run, thank the Christ. And it was actually, I have 2, but the other one was lower and I couldn't use it. So I got this one now for my sorceress. It's like a 900 and something. So let's say I can take that Oculus and now, well, let's say you get an Oculus at like level 70. Just a very drop, right? And you want to be able to upgrade that as you level up. Well, that's a good plan for any unique. So if I get a unique at level 50, if I can keep it and still upgrade it and it will level with me, well, then that's great, because then you're not wasting that time on a unique that's become obsolete in like 5 levels or 10 levels. And so that's important. And I hope that's what they're considering, because you can get away with replacing legendaries, yellows, and blues because they drop so often, especially the higher you go in level. But uniques are so rare as drops that even though I've collected a bunch of them, it's been almost a year now that I've played this game, since June. Well, half a year. And a lot of them are just useless. Like, I haven't destroyed them because I might use them on other characters that I create or whatever, but they are just kind of just sitting there taking up space. And so one thing that I was thinking about was, well, what if you took your uniques that you can't use and you destroyed them for materials that will allow you to make other uniques, like stronger uniques or uniques that are more up to your level where your character is at now rather than before. So if I took my sorceress and I had like frostburn gloves, and I have like 5 or 6 of them that are lower level, right? So what if I destroyed them for materials that would allow me to make a level 900 or better glove? I would think that would be a great fucking plan, right? Like, that would work out well, because you're not wasting these items once you've surpassed their item level.
For your particular play style. That's important for like player expression, for build making. It does a lot for just making the game more exciting, versus like every single time you're looking for an upgrade, it's only whatever immediately drops in the ground, and I kind of have to make a decision based on that. We want to go a lot further than that, I think, in the future for players. Now, these are the sorts of things I'm talking about are pretty big, right? Like in season 2, we made changes to the resistance system. We made changes like vulnerable damage being multiplicative, making that additive. I think people that saw, like, we made a huge number of changes to the way that stats work and skills and a bunch of other stuff, right? Huge number of changes. And the reason why we did so much of it at once was because many of these things were very interconnected. And trying to improve these systems by doing like one small portion of it can actually make everything worse, because this is now like almost like a little island of a different idea. It's floating out and not integrated properly into everything else in the game, right? So as we think about the sorts of itemization changes we're looking to make, the reward changes we want to make things more exciting for players to chase, and really, again, if Diablo is a game about killing monsters and getting loot, then killing monsters feels pretty good right now. I think that getting loot has places where we can make improvements. We need to make sure that's holding up its end of the bargain, right?
Yep.
But to make this, the sorts of changes that we're talking about, there's basically a number of other things that are going to need to be adjusted at the same time. So we have plans for a really, really big update for itemization that we want to be able to produce. It's not coming in Season 3. We're looking at Season 4, where we want to be able to target a lot of these changes to come out kind of en masse. So in Season 3, which we're not talking about today, Season 3 today, but there's still cool stuff that we have coming up. Which we'll tell. I guess we'll talk. Yeah, sure. Right. We're about to talk like a tiny bit about Season 3. There's still lots of great feedback that we're getting from players about their experience playing in Season 3 right now.
Yeah. Season 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Yes. Feedback from Season 2 that we want to try to to incorporate into Season 3.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that we've seen with Season 2, right, is this was you were talking about how we made a lot of changes to itemization. We made a lot of changes to builds.
Yeah.
There were some things that got less powerful, but we really sort of I think we did a great job delivering on some of the stuff we talked about back in Season 1 in terms of making when we make changes to stats or classes or itemization, that we make sure that we're adding lots of new cool stuff. And I think we plan to continue to do that with Season 3, right? So I think we've talked. I've said on social, like, hey, we're not gonna nerf your builds here throughout Season 2. We were just playing Ball Lightning, right?
Yeah, sure.
Just live here, and we think that's really important because we built Abattoir of Zir based on the balance of the game as it stands in Season 2. But then as you get into Season 2, you can Season 3. No one's going to say any of the right season numbers today. But as you get into Season 3, you can expect to see some of those balance changes, kind of like what we saw in Season 2, right?
That's right. So we'll change along those lines. We'll be able to talk about those as we get a little bit closer to the Season 3 release date. And there's a bunch of other changes we're making in Season.
Well, there's the one thing about, I know you were talking about with itemization. We're prepping a lot of changes, and we've actually we have talked to at least a group of Diablo partners, content creators already about some of the itemization changes that are going to be coming in Season 4.
That's right.
So they have actually. There are people aware of some of the details and changes that we're actually offering. So, and we're doing that mostly for we wanted to get some feedback from and bounce like some ideas that we actually had. So we're really looking forward to actually going through all of that and making sure and refining it a little bit before we actually put it out in front of everyone. And so there will be more news about itemization as we go through Season 3 and into Season 4. Obviously, with the big changes that are going to be coming, but we have been actually talking with a select group of people, with our Diablo partners, our content creators, specifically on that. So, and I wanted to make sure like people weren't thinking we're working within like a box or something like that from that end.
Yeah, like Joe said at BlizzCon, like if end game content is one of our highest priorities, itemization is our highest priority, right? Like we're actively working on these things. It's just they take time because they're expansive. And it's going to be better for the game, bringing these things together into one big release. We're very, very excited about it. It was really fun talking to content creators about some of these plans and getting some of that initial feedback. So that's cool. But like we're in motion, we're working through these things right now. So, but again, that's not all, right? Like, as we look towards Season 3 and talk about like the sorts of things that players are having some difficulties with right now, there's a couple things that got brought up. First is Forgotten Souls.
Yes.
Yeah, it's obviously we see that players are having a tougher time getting Forgotten Souls in Diablo 4 and Season 2, relative to other points in time. One of the things that we're doing based upon that feedback and feedback about Helltide is actually increasing the Helltide uptime. So basically, Helltide's going to be up every hour for about 55 minutes. It's going to be like a 5-minute break, and then it's going to come back up again. You don't run through again. Yeah. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to farm those Forgotten Souls up when you're looking for them.
Yeah, we really saw that it worked well with Blood Harvest, and it's something we wanted to bring over to Helltide. I think there are
Fuck yes. Thank you.
More lessons from Blood Harvest that we can incorporate. But this was one that we thought was really important to get in for season 3.
Yeah, and this is just part of like the things we learn through seasons that players really enjoy, and, and it helps us make the game better. You know, there's even like the idea that from season 1 to season 2, where we brought Malignant Powers kind of back in those unique rings that we announced at BlizzCon and are obviously now out. Now, Blood Harvest has taught us a lot about, you know, players' expectations of like what they're looking for when it comes to like things like Helltide as well. So it's just some of these learnings that we continuously apply to the game, which has been really great.
Yeah, and I want to talk about another thing that we saw in season 2 that I sort of think I've sort of been talking about as the 925 problem.
Oh, sure.
Basically, when you first get access to World Tier 4, you can start getting the highest eye power loot immediately from world bosses and from Duriel if someone carries you through Duriel, and that like Duriel totally makes sense. It's a super hard encounter. It's a farm encounter, right? It's level 100. The world bosses probably shouldn't have a guaranteed chance to drop 925, not because we hate having players have good loot, just because, you know, when I was playing through it, I was 72 and all my gear was 925.
Sure.
And I felt like, where am I going to go from here? Now, it wasn't all, I had a bunch of garbage affix.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, I have never at 72 been getting 925 gear. Never. So you can't apply the select minority who are really good at this game that are able to do that versus those that are not. So my only issue here with what Joe is saying is that because not everybody's going to be able to get to tier 4 level 72, dude. Like I literally, just like I told you earlier, my druid, I was at 70 or whatever, and like I wasn't able to get past Elias. I had to get help to do that, and there was no queue system, so I went through the trade chat, asked somebody to help me, and they did. That was fine. But again, if I had a queue system to get into the capstone dungeons or nightmare dungeons or boss fights, and you were able just to pop right in and do this, which would speed up time, a lot of people would do what you're saying, but you're still getting a lot of shit, a lot of lower gear once you get into tier 4, even in tier 3, dude. Like that was one of the reasons why I pushed my druid to tier 4, is because in tier 3, I was getting item level 600. That should never fucking happen. So what you should be doing is, yeah, if Joe is good enough, if Joe Shelley is good enough with his character to get into tier 4, I have no problem with him getting item level 900 or 925. Like, I don't think that's a problem. I don't, because since your aspects and everything else is not perfect, you can continue to rework that and rework the grind or whatever. But for people on tier 3, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. I disagree with the fact that you shouldn't be getting 925 once you get into tier 4. I think that's bullshit. Maybe not for legendaries and blues and yellows. Like maybe keep that around 850 to 900, right? But those should be the limit. You should not be getting 600 and 700 items at tier 4. Like that should not be happening at all. I just disagree with that so fucking much, because I'm wasting so much time with the gear that drops that by the time I get any good gear, and then like once I finally get my gear up, well, then all of a sudden I'm not getting 925. Like I'm not, like I said, my like if Duriel's the only one that drops 925, that it's fine to some degree as long as you have a queue system to get in there and do it. But if you're relying on people to be available to do it, to help you out, if I'm not good enough to do it solo, like maybe Joe is, Well, that's a problem. It needs to be fixed. There needs to be a fixture there. Like, I can't be relying on people to be online that might be able to help me do it. So take a lesson from World of Warcraft, build up a queue system for these things, and then people can enjoy and get in there and get those items more.
That's right, like Joe was talking about. But
yeah.
But there's another part of this problem, which is that as you get up toward close to 100 and reach 100, it feels like there aren't enough. There isn't enough variety in places where you can get 925 gear reliably.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it can drop from Varshan, but it's a very small chance.
Yep.
It can drop from stuff like Beast and Ice. And so it feels like, things like turning in Obuls, turning in Whispers, doing some of those other ladder bosses. And even in some,
Obuls don't
in
do
some
shit,
cases, some of the
dude.
Nightmare Dungeon
Nothing.
content,
Yep.
it can feel like, well, I guess I'm just supposed to do Duriel and maybe do the world bosses when they come up.
Yeah, it's not consistent enough from other sources that aren't Duriel and aren't the world bosses.
Yeah.
So we love that you want to go farm Duriel for Uber uniques and for unique items. We like the idea that you want to go hit world boss when it's up, and that's fun. But it doesn't feel good if those are the only two ways for you to really like adequately find this kind of these kinds of rewards. So there's gonna be a balance that we're certainly evaluating that to make sure that it feels like it's a little easier to find 925s in other top eye power items, in other content channels throughout the game.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have some changes coming with season 3 to based off of feedback that we've gotten from players with season 2, things around Hell Tide, things around the 925, the eye level 925 items specifically. So, but yeah, great to hear. Lots of changes coming up, and of course, season 4 we have some big changes for itemization that are along the road. So, I know we want to jump into Q&A now. Because and this is an opportunity for people in chat to kind of jump in and ask their
I'm so
questions.
sorry, Adam, for like ruining this transition. So I guess one last thing on itemization. So part of all of this is trying to find more ways to what's this?
I love the lower third.
Oh,
This is like
back.
no, back to itemization.
As it should be.
Okay, yeah. So part of all of this is trying to find more ways to communicate, different ways to communicate the like what our intentions are, what our plans are. Try and check them against like the views of the community. We don't want to overpromise, underdeliver. We want to make sure that we're really happy with the plans. So we're going through this. We're going to continue to try to like provide as much detail as we can as we go. This isn't about kind of creating a grand reveal. That's not the point.
Right.
We want to manage expectations and also make sure that we're really, really happy with what we have. So when we deliver to players to be excited about it. So when we're ready to talk more about these things leading into season 4, we're gonna make sure that we do a whole stream about these changes.
Yep. Yeah, it's more about getting it right than keeping it secret.
That's
not about.
It's
not about.
Exactly. And then just goes back to like why we've already started talking to like even just some of our Diablo partners, our content creators, a little bit about it, just to make sure that we're not working within a box where we're trying to get this right and show it to everyone. So all right, so Q&A. This again, I'll do my preamble again. This is a good opportunity for people in Twitch chat to be able to drop in questions. I know chat's moving quickly, but we have our community team is actually in there. Like props to Lisa Casey in there right now and pulling specific questions for Q&A. I'm watching Rich. By the way, no one sees this. We have a whiteboard in here. Rich is like, oh, Midwinter Blight. This is a question that a lot of people have been asking. It ends on January 2nd. Right. So people who are asking in chat, Midwinter Blight goes through January 2nd, so everyone is aware of that. And then Abattoir Zero actually goes nearly to the end of the season.
That's right.
So players can check out Abattoir Zero almost all the way through the end of season 2. Good reminders on these end dates. I will say that there's a question before we jump into questions from chat. There was a question that we've been getting a lot online from console players, specifically related to gold trading, that I do want to actually address as well.
Oh yeah.
People have sent me videos, and I totally understand. It has become very, very tedious to actually trade gold, and since gold accumulation has actually grown within season 2, it's become very tedious as a console player to trade gold using the
the amount of gold that people get now is far better than it was in season 1 in the past. So like they did a good job with the gold drop, because now I have plenty of gold to handle everything. They adjusted how much it costs to change things, gems, whatever. So that's huge. Like that's just incredibly huge. Even respecking, which I've done a number of times, because you're always constantly trying out different builds. Now they do need to get to a point where they need to allow you to save a build and then go to another build without refunding everything and then starting over. Like they need a way to do that, to save builds so that you can switch from them.
UI and the user interface within the game.
There's been some gold inflation in season 2.
Exactly.
We know.
And I know they have to like manually scroll their gold, and it can be a little difficult. I will say that is being addressed, and the team is working on a fix for that. We're hoping that will be in for season
I ain't giving
3.
gold to no one. I'm
so
a hoarder.
players on console will get a little bit more, I guess, of a relief during that specific point.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier to put in, 100 million, a billion gold, whatever you want to put it.
Exactly. So I will jump into questions here. We have Pow Warpig. Why is Abattoir of Zir considered a seasonal event and not normal content?
Yeah, because we want it to go away at the end of the season. That's why. So because as I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier, but like the Abattoir of Zir is a piece of content.
I'm gonna take a piss. I'll be right back.
We really want to see how players interact with it. We want to see what people like about it, what they don't like about it. We want to be able to take that feedback and incorporate that into more things that we do.
Yeah.
We are going to be looking for more like we say things like seasonal and evergreen. We are looking for more evergreen pieces of end game content for players to engage with, to just kind of continue to level up the base Diablo 4 experience, particularly in that World Tier 4 environment. But we want to be able to do that in a way that is that is intentional, right? So
yeah. I think you were saying earlier we want to make more content like this, but with Abattoir of Zir, this is the first of its kind. This is the first time we've done something like this, and so I think we're going to learn some stuff from it.
Yeah, we intend to learn some stuff from it.
Question from Breezy Seashore regarding Abattoir Zir. Will we get any sigils or sigil powder from Abattoir Zir dungeons?
Abattoir of Zir runs do drop sigil at the end, but you don't get sigil drops as part of the Abattoir of Zir runs.
Perfect. All right. And then I guess this is kind of similar to a question that you guys, the first question, which is from Mr. Beefcakes Gaming, saying, are we getting some sort of variation of this mode in future seasons? Are there like more big plans related to endgame beyond Abattoir of Zir for D4?
Yeah, I mean, in season 3, we know that we're going to be launching the gauntlet and the leaderboard systems and trials. It's like we're going to have some endgame content there. We are looking at more content just like this, and we will be releasing it as well. During the course, we're talking about some ideas potentially for season 3. We're talking about things we want to do in season 4. So we are working through all of that right now. But yes, you will see more content like this in the future.
Yeah, and jump into Abattoir next week and play it and tell us about it.
Yeah,
like if you love it, then tell us, and we're going to make more of that.
Yeah.
Question from Rimas. This is where I
This
struggle.
is like a year of this.
Yeah,
of Adam saying a name with an
y'all
upward
just need to
inflection
have
at the end of
easier
the name.
Twitch names. Like mine's Pez Radar. It's like so simple. Come on,
Not
everyone.
everybody can be as clever as you with Pez Radar.
I know, so clever. I took a popular candy and mixed it in with the word radar. Everyone. So Rima says, any news on a loot filter? Any plans for that? Things like that. This is a popular question we tend to get quite often. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you can answer too. I think we answered. We had a question like this at BlizzCon.
Yes.
And what I said, which continues to be true, is that we think that being able to filter your loot efficiently is a baseline part that should be part of all ARPGs, including Diablo 4. Some of the changes that we're planning coming up for itemization in season 4, I think will help with that. We're going to look at those and look at the in the context of a loot filter as well. Like we're certainly not against adding a loot filter, and it's something that we're looking at alongside the changes that we're making. But the changes to itemization are so significant that if we added a loot filter today, it wouldn't work after we changed them.
Yeah, there's gonna be significant changes. So and and I call that like some of the problems, the big problems that we see right now in itemization. Largely, a lot of it comes down to being able to parse all this loot that you're collecting, and then like the general sense that like some affixes are just for nobody. Like they're not really good for anybody. Nobody really wants shrine buff duration. Right. You know, nobody really wants, you know, it's not. I shouldn't say no one really wants 3 or 4 resists on an item, but like there are some people that want 3 or 4 resists on an item. We're probably not going to do a lot of that in the future. You know, there's more things we're doing to make it just easier to parse item to item. You know, the sorts of improvements and benefits and make it more exciting for players.
Question from It's Doffy. Are there plans for more butcher-style bosses like Bloodseekers? Would love more types of these encounters, especially maybe during world bosses. That'd be crazy. But yeah, having like 4 butchers spawn in the middle of a world boss, that'd be fun.
It's just a different kind of world boss at that point.
Exactly. But yeah, any
Dude, that'd be fucking nuts.
It's that surprise type of element with enemies that come in.
Yeah, we love that the gameplay that we're getting from Bloodseekers, like dropping into dungeons occasionally. I think you see even just like the fights at the end of the Abattoir of Zir runs they're already pretty fun because you don't really know what combination of affixes and Bloodseeker classes you're going to get when you kind of wrap things up. Looking for more interruption, disruptive content like that, you know, that kind of creates this like these like bolts of excitement when you're going through like a content piece that you think you might already know. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, so you mentioned world bosses, and I was killing Treasure Beast last week, and when you stagger Treasure Beast, you can actually get one of those little treasure goblins that pops out.
Mm-hmm.
But his loot isn't very good, so we're gonna fix that.
So there we go.
Not exactly.
Not exactly that. But Joe had that experience and wants to let everyone know.
I got 1 rawhide and 300 gold.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, we're gonna stop that. I mean, a lot of it's probably gonna. I'll get back to some of it later at another time, but I wanted to get back to the other video. Already 2 hours in, so we'll take that one out. We'll put this back in.
Companies you in game, providing some conveniences and utility.
Nevertheless, I do like that the devs for Blizzard are answering some questions that I had about, you know, certain things, which is nice. Because they do need to address some of that, but I hope they go and they look at some more things in depth. Because like you're still based on a certain amount of time to get some of these things accomplished, and not everybody has the ability to just jump in groups and go do this. Like some people can if you're part of a clan and you're online a lot, but if you're casual and not online a lot, you only have a certain amount of time to dedicate to the game. It'd be nice to be able to have a faster queue system to get in and do some of this stuff so that you can get these items. And so both Joes did a good job answering itemization and stuff like that. So hopefully, again, they can dive in more and address some of the issues as far as like the 925s and more options of getting them.
Such as access to your stash or gold pickups. Yeah, ouch. And the 2 options here are 1 season before launch and 1 season before launch. So that's weird. And
I'm not saying that all pay to win is equally bad either. There is some pay to win that's way worse than other pay to win. Like, for example, Marvel Snap. You can spend money and get the cards early. But you can also spend money and kill people in PvP in Diablo Immortal. One of them is obviously way worse than the other one.
Season before launch, does that mean like the final season of base D4? And also, this is selling convenience. Obviously this is something that they're looking into. It's an idea that they have. Why else would it be here on this survey? To that, I must say, I am a bit suspicious, but it gets worse. There's a temporal skin, that's totally fine. And early access to a functional item.
Early access to a functional item in-game, such as a unique piece of gear or a legendary aspect before it's released during the expansion? Now, this isn't pay for convenience at all, is it? Unless, it is pay for convenience because it's more convenient for me to win. Look at that. Bro, I got the new unique. I got it early. 3 days early access.
Yeah, but dude, it's going to be useless in about 5 levels. So you're crying about something that's going to become like useless, unless when you buy it that this unique is like a level 50 or 70, you know what I mean? That's the only way it becomes kind of like more useful at that point. But I got a feeling it's going to be something that you can use right away.
Says, yes, somehow this is even worse.
Early access to a functional item in-game, such as a unique piece of gear or a legendary aspect before it's released during the expansion. So
that is crazy, by the way. Being able to get early access to a weapon or like a unique item, that is insane.
Of course, you can have uniques, which are some of the best gear in the game, and then legendary aspects, which
to be fair, a lot of uniques aren't that great. And I don't think this is like necessarily like game breaking, but keep in mind, it is now in Blizzard's best interest financially to make powerful uniques available only for early access. And it's more in their best interest to make the new uniques that are added through.
To be honest, when it comes to this early access stuff, like, I don't think many people are going to do it with Diablo 4. I really don't. I think a lot of people learned a hard lesson this time around, including myself. So, like, if tomorrow Blizzard came out and said, hey, we have to have like early access for season 3 and you're going to get this, this, and this, I doubt many people are going to do it because they got burned the first time. So I'm not really worried about people like spending a lot of money on a pre-order for this shit that they're talking about. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to do it because I learned I got burned when I bought Diablo 4 to begin with. Like, you know, I the one thing I was very upset about was that we all got taken for granted. We all got used as game testers for Blizzard during this, and we still are. Like, they're not paying anybody that many people to game test because they probably have like 10 people, whereas we all paid to be game testers. We didn't get paid for it, we paid them. So when it comes to this particular game, no one's going to get, at least for the most part, not a lot of people are going to get duped into doing a pre-order again. I guarantee it. No one's going to do it. There'll be a few out there that's going to be like, oh, I got to have this, the whales, they call them. But for the most part, you're not going to get the many millions of people that did this the first time around. It's not going to happen.
Early access be powerful because it would make sense, right? So, like, think about it logically. If you could get Shaco early, the Harlequin Crest early, well, a lot more people would pay for that than pay for frost boots that like leave the frost trail.
Major effects on your character. This is the idea that if you pre-order the expansion, which of course pre-orders comes out in a year from now. So what would this be? You just get access to an aspect for a year earlier? Would this be access to an aspect for a season earlier? I don't know, but that is turbo scum that they're even thinking about it.
Turbo scum, I like that. That sounds good. Yeah,
it's a good screen name, Turbo Scum.
I would agree.
Also, stash space. Yeah, 1 or 2.
So for context, there was a guy in my chat before Diablo 4 came out. He said that they were going to add stash space for money. And I said, no, they won't. And he said, okay, bet. And I said, okay, if they add stash space for money, I will buy you every single item in the Diablo 4 store. I gave it a 6-month window, and we're at 5 months right now. I'm about to lose $500.
Stash tabs, and that, friends, does it extremely frustrates me because this is core game functionality, and look, you can buy stash tabs in a game like...
It is core game functionality, and it provides a profit incentive to make inventory management harder to do in order...
Now, stop it right here, okay? Because they're going to carry on. Asmon's going to carry on, so is Beliar, right? They say it's frustrating because it should be a core thing of the game. Listen to what they're saying. Hi, baby. Now, Asmon talked earlier about PoE and how he's going to start getting into this whole thing about, well, I can accept it with PoE that you have to buy stash tabs for because you don't have to buy the game. So, because the game's free, you don't require it to have a core thing as far as stash tabs included in it. It's only if it's a paid game, it should have stash tabs already there. Not to mention it does have stash tabs, right? The only argument you can make that's really legit when it comes to Diablo is that the earlier game versions, like 1 and 2, I believe, or at least 1, they said it had like 20 fucking stash tabs or something. But the problem that I have with the PoE comparison is, one, it's not that PoE is free, but I'm going back to DM and the stuff that he said regarding his experience playing Path of Exile. And his experience was, I enjoyed Path of Exile and I enjoyed paying a bunch of money for stash tabs because I didn't have to pay for Path of Exile. But the thing that cracks me up, again, it comes back to how much he paid for those stash tabs and all the microtransactions, which was well over $600. $600 fucking dollars. That's more than anything that I've paid for with Diablo 4, and more than I paid for regarding World of Warcraft since 2007. Think about that. $600 for stash tabs and other little microtransactions on Path of Exile. And the game's free. The game's free and doesn't have your stash tabs. Well, that's funny because it's a core part of the game and should have stash tabs. It's free. But let's listen to them contradict themselves and be hypocritical about it.
To incentivize people to buy more stash tabs, yes. That's exactly what it is. I would say it's player unfriendly, but it's not unfriendly, it's hostile.
Path of Exile, but it's free to play. No, in a game like D4, all game features are there for everybody, and it's only cosmetics. That's the only way you get to do this. If you start giving people stash space, yeah.
Yeah, keep in mind, whenever a PoE, Conquerors of the Atlas, these new games come out, the new expansions for PoE come out, they don't cost money. You want to play PoE right now, you can do it for free.
That is absolutely 10 years awful, especially when people are starving for more stash space and they want it in the form of an update. Now, I imagine, and to be very clear, the vast majority of developers on this game will not want this. They're probably ARPG players and they probably know a scumbag move when they see them.
I agree with him. I do. I think that like a lot of the developers are dreading the conversation that they're going to have to add this into the game in order to meet some sort of metric or, like sales goal. A lot of the developers don't really give a fuck about this kind of stuff. They don't want to have to deal with it. They just want to make the game. And also, like, it makes them look bad, right? Like, now they can't talk about, like, think about it, like, they want to have the cool job of being the cool Diablo 4 dev. Imagine being a developer for just some shitty pay-to-win game. It's not as cool as being like you have two guys, at a party. One guy is a developer for, what's a really shitty pay-to-win game? Diablo Immortal. And the other guy is a developer for Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring. Who's getting more bitches?
Problem with Diablo Immortal, for one, is, I can play it on my desktop, but the graphics suck. It's made for basically your phone. Most phone games are pay to win anyway. So the actual system for Diablo 4 is already based on what's going on in the gaming world on an Android or iPhone. So I have Diablo or Immortal on my phone, but I took it off. I just wasn't interested, and I haven't gone back to it on my desktop. The graphics are so terrible that there's no point to it. No point to it. So that argument there is just, you're talking about two different types of like IO systems, really.
Well, they're probably both at 0. But if they were theoretically, who has more neckbeards coming up to them to say thank you for making a great game? Definitely the Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate guys.
Often it's the case that the people who actually communicate about the games you play and make the games that you play know exactly what's going on. Yes, it may suck for a community manager that they've got to toe the public line because it's literally their job, but I'm fairly sure, at least in most of the cases, that...
The community manager... There's actually there are a lot of community managers. You can actually, there's a way in Classic WoW, you can actually make community managers. I'll show you. So these are, this is how to make a community manager. You need to be an engineer and you need to have 85 engineering skill. And you can actually make, 10 community managers that can stack on top of each other in your inventory. And he's right there. That's the community manager. Good for them.
That I've experienced. No, community managers really do actually know how the players feel. They can't always say it, but they're usually kind of more...
I've talked to community managers after they were done being community managers. You would be amazed at how based they are. Really would be amazed.
Standing, at least in my experience. Obviously, not always the case. I'm sure there are examples of community managers, going on tirades, whatever. But anyway, there are some interesting options here. And remember, this is not confirmation that there's going to be a unique aspect, a unique that you get early, and stash tabs in a pre-order or in a collector's edition. It is not confirmation of that. It is confirmation that they've sent out a survey testing the water on those things, because ultimately their inclusion in this survey means that Blizzard do feel confident enough of these being benefits that would be
in place. But interesting to know that. And buy an expansion in order...
Yeah, I think I pretty much run the course with that. The biggest thing is, like, these guys, like, they complain so much about the pay to win stuff, but then they turn around and say, well, people can do whatever they want with their money. And that's true. That's the way it should be. But, whining about the pay to win stuff for a game that you supposedly don't give much shit about makes no sense. But here's the kicker too. Guys like Asman, Beliar, DM, Hog, whoever, they get paid through monetization for talking about games. So you're basically making money talking about a game that you don't give no shits about. So does that really make you a good dude, that you're trashing something, or that you're basically constantly talking about a game that you just really have no interest in? Like, really? And I mean, again, I enjoy these streamers. They're good guys. They're smart. They're great gamers. But I do find it a bit hypocritical that you sit there and you trash something for money on your own streams and then, like, try to act like, oh, well, I really like the game. I'll play it anyway. Like, you come back and play, right? If Diablo 4 gets Season 3, guess who's going to be fucking back playing it? Asmongold, DM, all of them. And they're going to continue to trash it and talk shit about it and make money off of it. But I'm just frustrated because you're going to trash. Come on, baby. Get down. Hold on. They keep coming back and they fucking sit there and blame and whine about all the pay to win stuff. And it's like, dude, no one's forcing you to pay for anything. Not one fucking thing, dude. I don't have all the money in the world. And I certainly don't have $600 to pay for stash tabs and microtransactions for a free game like Path of Exile. Anything that I've paid for with Diablo 4 is very minute. If I see like one cosmetic item in the shop that I think that would look really great on my character, I'm going to get it. It may only cost me, I think I had to pay $25 for a few of those silver coins in order to get to buy the bundle when it comes in. But that's so rare when that happens, because there's other shit that is in these other things like Blood Harvest, which is free. It's like a blood or a battle pass, but it's free. And in Season 3, they're going to have something similar where you get more cosmetic items. So unless it's something that I feel like my character really needs to have, like, there's a lot of cool shit in there. But eventually, thing about Blizzard is they always go and they always like end up having sales and all this other shit. That's how I got a lot of mounts and like little creatures for World of Warcraft. And I'm not hurting anybody when I do that. Like, there's people that were like Diablo Immortal that spent thousands of dollars on a game. I'm like, why? I guess if you have the money, it's your life, but I'm not one of those people, and a lot of people that are casuals aren't those people. So if you're somebody like Asmon or anyone else who doesn't want to pay for those things, well, then don't pay for them. But why cry about it? Because if it's not something that affects you, I think, honestly, and this is just my opinion, but like World of Warcraft, so when Asmon talks about he hates retail, he hates the way that Blizzard has gone with World of Warcraft and all that, and the stuff that, the mounts and everything else that's in the shop that he complains about, it's only because he's kind of like this elitist. There's like this entitlement as a gamer that, oh, I spent hours and fucking years getting this, like this drop. And just the fact that you can go in and buy it now is like insulting. It doesn't affect you, dude, because you already have it. You did what you needed to do to get it. You wanted to do it. You got paid to do it. So it shouldn't matter like what someone does with their own money. If tomorrow, so I've tried over the years to get the Headless Horseman mount, right? It only comes out during October, Halloween. The little event that plays the dungeon that you run and go and try to get this mount to drop. Never gotten it. But you can bet your fucking ass if tomorrow they put it up in the shop for $25, I'm going to buy it. It's convenient. And it's something that's cool that I know that I'll probably never get because I can't dedicate the amount of time that it would take to get this fucking thing to drop. It's a very low chance. If, like Diablo works in a different way because I don't think they really put up items that are like uniques. Like I don't expect to see any of those in the shop. It could happen, but I doubt it. A lot of it's just cosmetic shit and it's cool. But World of Warcraft has always added different things. And now as they have this trading post, I've been able to get like some mounts out of that. Like I don't know how rare they are or how hard they were to get, but if I'm doing it another way that's not actually paying like real life money, which I'm paying anyway when I pay for a subscription for WoW anyway, but either way, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect Asmongold. It doesn't affect DM. It doesn't affect Hog. It doesn't affect anybody. And whether or not you think people are getting duped into doing this, you're getting duped in other ways. You might think that Path of Exile is like this moral code for how you should spend money on a free game. It's not. It's just different. So the fact that DM spent so much money for stash tabs on Path of Exile, more power to him, man. Like that's if he had enjoyed playing that game, which I think he did, and you wanted to spend that kind of money, that's your prerogative. That's your money. You do what you want. I'm not going to throw you any ill will because you paid for stash tabs on a game that should already had stash tabs. You know what I'm saying? So the whining about Diablo 4 not having enough stash tabs is just dumb. All it does is make you look like a stupid ass because like you don't know what you're talking about. It's the same thing, just on a different end, on the other end of the scale. However, it's just my opinion. I'm one dude, casual player. It's just my opinion. You can agree to disagree. That's fine. But at the end of the day, what people spend their money on doesn't affect me, and what they don't spend their money on doesn't affect me. So you do you. Be your own individual. Don't be a sheep. And we'll see you next time here on the Metal Time Radio podcast. When I raid alone, and I raid alone myself. See you the fuck later. And I've been having a couple beers today, so cheers.